Okay, Miami finishes up the year 11-5. They close the regular season on a 3-game winning streak, and they defeat New England in overtime 16-13 on Stoyanovic's 35-yarder with 6:43 left in the overtime session. New England played them well, but they wind up losing their last 5 in a row, and they're 2-14 in a nightmare season. They will get the #1 draft choice, even if Seattle winds up with the same record. The reverse tiebreaker goes to the Patriots, so they'll get the #1 pick coming up in the draft. Pittsburgh is a winner at home. Their record now 11-5. They found the offense that had been missing since Neil O'Donnell had been hurt. Barry Foster, a huge part of it. He had 103 yards rushing today. His 12th 100-yard game of the season. That ties Eric Dickerson's record set back in 1984 when he rushed for more than 2,000 yards. That was a 7-yard TD for Foster. The fumble came after the TD had been ruled. Here's Bubby Brister with a 2-yard flip to Tim Jordan off play action for a touchdown. And Brister celebrates. Bernie Kosar's injured ankle was aggravated, and they had to go to Mike Tomczak in the second half. And Tomczak had this fine moment, rolling right off the play-action fake and throwing on the run to Michael Jackson for the TD that brought them back to 17-10. But Pittsburgh was able to hold on and win, and it's Foster carrying here. This takes him over 100 yards. As I said, it's the 12th time in 16 games that he cleared the century mark. Dickerson did it a dozen times in his record-breaking year of 1984. O.J. did it 11 times, by the way, in 1973 in a 14-game season when he became the first 2,000-yard rusher. Pittsburgh now finishes the year at 11-5. Cleveland, which was alive for a wild card until last week, winds up at 7-9. Now, Pittsburgh has at least a first-round bye, and if Buffalo loses tonight at Houston, then Pittsburgh has the #1 seed in the AFC playoffs. They would have home field advantage throughout against anybody. Indianapolis and Cincinnati in the final game period, for the great tackle Anthony Munoz, retiring after 13 years and 11 Pro Bowl appearances. The Bengals took a 17-0 lead at the half, and then Indianapolis came back to win 21-17. There's the reception for number 78. Next stop for him in a football sense, Canton, Ohio, and the Hall of Fame. Derek Fenner got the job done in the first half for the Bengals, 35 yards. Munoz threw a key block for him. Touchdown. Gave the Bengals a 17-0 lead. Fenner had earlier run for a 12-yard TD. Jeff George knocked out of the game with a concussion. Jack Trudeau replaced him. And with Indy trailing 17-7, Trudeau threw his second touchdown of the game, a 19-yarder to Billy Brooks, brought them to within 3. And then Rodney Culver, a little bit after that, will score on the draw play. Ted Marchibroda urging his team on. And here's the touchdown I mentioned. Off the draw, Trudeau hands it to Culver, 36-yard touchdown. So Trudeau, in relief, is able to pull out the victory for the Colts. They end the season with a 5-game winning streak. And after going 1-15 last year, with the arrival of Marchibroda, they go 9-7 despite a lot of injuries. George missed time, and the 2 top draft picks, Empman and Coriat, each missed considerable portions of the season. And somehow Marchibroda, who probably won't get Coach of the Year because of the presence of Bill Cowher and Bobby Ross in his own conference and Dennis Green and others over in the NFC, Marchibroda has done a tremendous job as they wind up at 9-7, and they come from behind today to win 21-17. Now let's send things back out to Arrowhead after the victory by Kansas City. Derek Thomas, who had a huge game today from his outside linebacker spot, was gracious enough to come out and be interviewed by Dick Enberg. That was taped just moments ago, and let's roll it. Here it is. Dick Enberg with Derek Thomas.
Now, those numbers are misleading. 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 touchdown. We don't include 1 forced interception for another touchdown. We thought that was a sack and a forced fumble as well, but I think you'll let it go at that. Not a bad day at the shop.
Well, it wasn't a bad day at the office. Yeah, I've been needing a day like this. I've been playing pretty good, but I hadn't played as well as I possibly could. And my teammates needed me today, so I had to show up.
Now, that first one was the forced interception. Now the forced fumble and a sack. That's the daily double, as Chris Dolman calls it. And then you get the triple on this one, the sack, the fumble, and the 6 points.
I came to the line of scrimmage on that play, and I said, well, I got to get off. And if I get off, maybe I had the opportunity to get a holding call or something, because Marty always tells us whenever you're close to the end zone, if you force the guys into a holding penalty, then that's automatic safety. So I was really going for the holding call, and I ended up beating him on the corner, and at that point, I just went for the sack.
Well, you came out of college as a #1 draft pick from Bama 4 years ago. Could you have imagined your numbers would be as impressive as they are?
Well, I had hoped they would, and, coming out of college, you always hope, but, until you actually go to the NFL and post the numbers, they mean nothing.
Well, I know your idol was Lawrence Taylor, and maybe he was watching with a smile himself today in New York. Congratulations, Derek.
Thank you. I hope LT was watching. Maybe he may give it up this season, and this was my last game for the 1992 season. Now we're going into the playoffs. So hopefully he was watching, and AT, that was for you.
All right, Derek Thomas, our guest. The Chiefs are in the playoffs, and we go to Bob Costas in New York.
Dick and Derek, thanks very much. They are, in fact, in the playoffs, at least as a wild card. And if Seattle upsets San Diego, then the Chiefs are able to claim the championship of the AFC West. And Seattle has taken the lead in the first quarter at the Kingdome 7-0 on Chris Warren's 30-yard touchdown run. Chicago and Dallas finishing up the year for the Bears, and Dallas already knows they've got a first-round bye in the playoffs, and they have home field advantage against everybody in the NFC except the San Francisco 49ers. Cowboys are 12-3, and the Bears are 5-10, and there's no score in this one in the first quarter. Atlanta 6-9, the Rams 5-10. Final game for each. Rams with 2 quick touchdowns, 14-0 lead first quarter at Anaheim. Tampa Bay and Phoenix each 4-11. Greg Davis kicks a 21-yard field goal in the first quarter at Sun Devil Stadium, and a 3-0 lead for the Phoenix Cardinals. Closing thoughts here, Juice?
Well, I'm interested in watching Emmitt Smith this afternoon. Barry Sanders had 103 yards. Emmitt needs 109 yards this afternoon to have his second straight league lead at rushing title, I should say. It's important to me, these rushing titles.
You have a preference between the two of them?
No,
obviously, they've each had great years.
I enjoy both of them. I think Barry Foster did it with less help. I'm really impressed with what he did this year. That team is where they are because of him and only him.
Derek Thomas continues to impress.
Amazing. It's remarkable that they would leave such a great player one-on-one with a rookie tackle. And finally, the monkey is off Marty Schottenheimer's back, and he's out of rehab. Congratulations to Marty Schottenheimer.
He was saying something about John Elway before the game, how they had to have a 21-point lead going into the fourth quarter just to be safe, and how Elway haunts him in his dreams, or nightmares, I guess would be the more appropriate term. Today he got it done.
Yeah, but he would have traded today for one of those AFC championship games. That's where he really wants to get it done.
All right, we are done for those of you who watched the Kansas City-Denver game, and so we'll see you next week in the wild card round. It was good to have Howie Long here on this final Sunday of the regular season. OJ, we'll see you next week. For those of you who watched the Dolphins and the Patriots, I think we've told you everything we know, but technically we've got to come back and say something else. We'll try and think of what it will be during this break. So long.